what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review. And today we're taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends Extremis Armor Iron Man from the Puff Adder Build-A-Figure wave. And I would say that this figure is probably the most anticipated out of this entire wave. We've been waiting for an update of this armor for a very long time. Hasbro did one back in the day. And honestly, I always thought that figure was pretty cool. It was just small. Unfortunately, I don't even know where it's at. I recently moved all of my collection and I don't know where that figure ended up. So I'm not going to have it in this review. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of other reviews out there that compare the two figures. And I think it's going to be pretty obvious that this figure is way better than that other one. It does look like it's an upgrade. And I'm very excited about it. So let's go ahead and get right into it, starting off with the packaging. Right here we get an image of the figure. It does look awesome right there. Down here it says the Avengers. Up top it says Iron Man Extremis. On the side we get a look at the Build-A-Figure and all the figures that it takes to put Puff Adder together. Iron Man does not come with the Build-A-Figure piece. And then we get a look at the figure on the back in that iconic superhero landing pose. I don't know if he's going to be able to do this pose as well as this image kind of indicates, but I guess we'll see. Shows the accessories that he comes with. Ooh, on this side we have some really dope artwork. That's nice. And yeah, that's it for the packaging. It is that new, plastic-free, windowless, cardboard, unmagical packaging that Hasbro's been using lately. But yeah, enough about the box. Let's go ahead and get Iron Man out and take a look. And so here we have Iron Man right out of the box. And man, this guy is looking pretty damn awesome. Hasbro really did a great job on him. He kind of reminds me of the Ultimate Captain America in a way because, like they did make some less than ideal articulation choices, but the figure more than makes up for it in the way that he looks because the sculpting work on him is absolutely incredible. They did a great job with the details and stuff. And I love the colors. It has like a toned down, muted kind of color. And that's very accurate to that initial Iron Man Extremis miniseries by Warren Ellis and Adi Grandoff. I think this figure was kind of going for that style, and they executed it very well. He's awesome. And even with some of the articulation setbacks, like you could still get some good stuff going. Like on the box, it shows him in that iconic superhero landing pose. And when I saw that promo image, I was like, no way he's going to be able to do that. And he can, but you do have to you have to fudge it a little bit, but you could still, you could get it close enough to where, I'm satisfied. So I was really happy that I was wrong about that because I was like, yeah, no way. they're not gonna make it able to do that. There's gonna be something holding it back. But yeah, I think for the most part they got pretty close enough for me, anyways. And obviously, we'll get into poses and stuff when we get to the articulation. For now, I just kind of want to show you how awesome the figure looks, just kind of standing there in a vanilla pose. Man, this is such a dope design for Iron Man. That's why, they took from this for the movies. And the figure does have a very similar look and feel to like a movie Iron Man figure from Hasbro. And, there's nothing wrong with that. I think they've done a pretty good job with the Iron Man movie stuff, especially the one from the Infinity Saga Anniversary Mark III Iron Man it was. That thing was awesome. So, yeah, they kind of nailed it. And I'm glad that they did before they kind of took some of those things and put it into a comic book figure. But yeah, man, I think they really did a great job with him. For the most part, I'm happy with him. But let's go ahead and get in close and take a look at the awesome sculpting on him. And then as far as the sculpting and the paintwork on this figure, I think that Hasbro did a really nice job with the details. Starting off at the head, I think this looks really, really good. As you can see, we have some really nice and clean sculpting work throughout the head. The faceplate looks awesome. I've always been a big fan of this faceplate on this armor because it kind of looks like, like he's angry or something. And it's cool to show emotion through like a metal faceplate like this. That is really dope. I like how the mouth kind of looks like he's frowning or he has a grimace or something. Yeah, that's awesome. Hasbro did a great job with it. I do wish that the eyes were like more of a different color than the faceplate. I think it is a little too similar, so they don't really stand out like they should. I think it would have been better if they went with white for the eyes. But aside from that, I really like the way this head looks. And then moving down into the body, all the sculpting work throughout is extremely well done. Everything is really clean. The armor does kind of have that like swirly metallic look to it, but it's pretty subtle. They didn't go overboard with it, which is nice to see. But yeah, look at that. This is all clean. And it looks great, in my opinion. And the paintwork is pretty much perfect throughout. I have one tiny imperfection on the bicep right here, and that's it. Everywhere else, everything is perfect. So that is pretty damn good. For the arms, we do have pinless elbows. And the hands look good. When I first saw the figure, I thought that they had like, I thought it was pinless up here, and then they had a pin on this side. I was like, come on, Hasbro, but thankfully that wasn't the case. So yeah, that looks good. Got some nice detail on the back. Look at all that. I like how they did these discs on his hips too. They're soft plastic, and they just kind of, you could swivel them out of the way so they don't obstruct the articulation at all. So that is nice to see. And I love the way the gold looks. There's not a whole lot of gold on the figure, but I think it looks really good, like on the arm, the faceplate, and then down here on the legs. It looks nice. And then he does have pinless knees, which is awesome. The feet look good. And yeah, I think that Hasbro really did a nice job with capturing the look from the comic. I like the muted colors that they went with. The sculpting work looks good. The paint is well executed. And yeah, I think this is a great looking figure. And then for accessories, Iron Man doesn't come with shit. All we get is 2 pairs of hands, including a pair of fists and a set of open hands. And he also comes with like these effects that you could either put in the hand, so that's like a repulsor blast, or like in the feet, so you can make it to where he's like flying and stuff like that. But these are very boring. I wish that he would have come with like some unmasked heads, or maybe some different flying and blasting effects. And they could have got creative with it, but I do feel like they got pretty lazy in the accessory department, unfortunately. And then now for some size comparisons. Here we have the Extremis Armor Iron Man alongside the Marvel Legends 80th Anniversary Alex Ross inspired classic Iron Man and the Marvel Legends modular Iron Man. And I do think the Extremis version looks awesome next to these, and it's going to be dope to have all these different types of armors in your collection. I will say though, he does look a little small in comparison to these other armors, but you could kind of justify that by saying that like the Extremis armor is smaller and more streamlined and not as bulky as some of the older armors. You could kind of get away with that. But I do feel like maybe he should have been just like a little bit bigger. Not much, but maybe just a tiny bit would have been beneficial. But as it is, I am happy with how he scales with other Iron Man figures. And then here we have him alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Iron Man and the Sentinel Armorized Iron Man. And then next up we have Iron Man alongside the Mafex Classic Spider-Man and the Marvel Legends Animated Series inspired Spider-Man. And as always, I would love to see Mafex tackle this version of Iron Man. I think they would do a great job with it. And then next up, we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Ultimate Captain America and the Marvel Legends 20th Anniversary Captain America. But this one has an awesome custom head sculpt by Alex Klein. Once again, huge shout out to him. I'll leave a link to his Instagram in the description below. But yeah, I do think that Iron Man looks pretty good next to these Captain America figures. But again, I do feel like maybe he could have been a little bit bigger, but I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken. Let me know in the comments. I do realize that the Extremis armor isn't as big and bulky as previous armors, and it's very close to the skin, almost like nanotech, So that could kind of like justify why it's a little smaller, and I could definitely live with that. But when I see these, I just kind of automatically think that Iron Man should be just a tiny bit bigger. And then next up, we have him alongside some more Marvel Legends Iron Man figures. And to be honest with you, I can't remember what these armors are called, but both of these figures are awesome, especially this guy here on the left. I know that this figure just came out last year, but damn, they did a good job with it. And this one on the right, I believe it was from one of the Black Panther waves, and this thing is dope. I think that Hasbro has pretty much nailed it when it comes to comic book Iron Man figures. Sometimes there's like little imperfections, but usually nothing major. I think for the most part, they've done a good job with the comic book armors for Iron Man. I think they're killing it. And they look amazing together, If you have them all like standing in like a Hall of Armor type situation, they look dope because there's a bunch of different armors that they've done really well, and they just look amazing together, The fact that they all look so different and that they're all so well done really makes for like a cool display, you know. And then next up we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Iron Spider, and I think they look pretty good together. And then on the opposite side we have the Mafex Classic Iron Man. And then just to show him alongside some non-Marvel stuff, here we have him with the Star Wars Black Series Imperial Trooper and a Power Rangers Lightning Collection Red Ranger. And then alongside the Fortnite Sky figure by Hasbro and the G.I. Joe Classified Bazooka. And then most importantly, here we have Iron Man alongside the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and the soon-to-be replaced Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And since he doesn't come with an unmasked head, I did want to show you guys some head swaps, but unfortunately, none of the Marvel Legends Tony Stark heads actually fit on here very well. They all look a little big, as you could see here with the 80th anniversary Tony Stark head. It looks kind of cool, and maybe you could photograph it from like a certain angle to make it work for you, but it's definitely too big. But yeah, this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite, 1/12 scale Tony Stark head. That thing is awesome. And then here we have the 20th Marvel Legends anniversary Tony Stark head. And again, it's just too big. Doesn't really work. But you know, I found this head that came with the Gamerverse Iron Man from, I think, the Mr. Fix-It Build-A-Figure wave. And if you pop the head on, it sits way too low. So I just have some blue tack in there. And with some blue tack lifting it up a little bit, this actually looks pretty good. Like, that works for me. The facial hair isn't necessarily accurate to the way that he looked around this time. I think he just had like a mustache and a goatee. And here he's got like the, I don't know, the sideburn beard thing, whatever you want to call it. But I still think this looks pretty good. I mean, I would display it like that. This head could definitely use a better paint job, but yeah, I think this works. And then last but not least, I have a custom head sculpt. And this came from the amazing Casting Cave. And this is the, the head sculpt that came with the Diamond Select Silver Centurion Iron Man. But then it was shrunken down and painted by Casting Cave. He absolutely killed it. And this looks pretty good too. Again, it's just a little too big. But actually, I don't know. This kind of works, huh? And it pops right on. Obviously, the style doesn't really match up. But it looks pretty cool. But yeah, so I guess like the best option would be this Gamerverse head. Those other head sculpts are a little too big. So I might end up using this when I need an unmasked Tony Stark head. And then as for the articulation, I think I'm mostly happy with what we have going on here. He pretty much has everything that we'd want to see in an Iron Man figure. But there are some things that they kind of left out that I feel would have made a lot of sense to put in there. Like, for example, a butterfly joint at the shoulder. It would have made a lot of sense because of the way that the shoulder's designed. It kind of looks like there's a butterfly joint in there. And I remember when the promo images first came out, a lot of people thought that he was going to have a butterfly joint because it just kind of, it looks like there's a cut in there and it would have worked out perfectly. But they decided not to. So, stuff like that. Or like a ball joint at the waist, they could have put a ball joint in there and it would have worked out nicely because of the way that the armor is sculpted and designed. But, even without those 2 points of articulation, you could still do a lot of great stuff with this guy, but those would have added a little bit to it. Like I said, I'm mostly happy with what we have going on. But let's go ahead and take a look starting off at the head. So the head is on a ball hinge, thankfully, because that allows him to look up a really good amount for flight poses. So that's nice. He could look down to about right there when he's staring down Captain America during Civil War. That'll work. And then he could look side to side. There's not a whole lot of tilt in there because the head does sit kind of low. But yeah, decent movement at the head. And then for the torso, he does have a diaphragm cut. And the diaphragm cut bends forward. Damn, only to about right there. It was pretty much all the way bent forward already. But yeah, that's not very good. Just like with Ultimate Captain America, I don't mind just the diaphragm cut, but you have to make it functional and kind of allow it to move to its full potential. So I'm definitely going to modify him And if I do, I'll do like a short or something to show it off. But it's basically going to be the same process as I used when I modified the Ultimate Captain America. So you could check out my Ultimate Captain America review, and I kind of show off how I did it in there. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. But anyways, back to Iron Man here. It does lean back a really nice amount. Again, that's helpful for flight poses. So that's nice. And then it does tilt side to side a pretty decent amount. And then you can swivel on that diaphragm. So yeah, you know, like I said, pretty decent movement. I just wish it moved forward a little bit more. And then for the arms, as I said, he does not have a butterfly joint, but he does have a ball joint at the shoulder, so his arm could go all the way around. You could bring his arms up to about right there, and the armor piece just kind of slides over this right here, so it doesn't really obstruct the articulation at all, so that's nice. But then if you leave his arm like that, when you bring it back down, the shoulder pad is kind of flared up a little bit, so you have to smash it back down. But yeah, no permanent damage or anything. I would have preferred if this was like on a hinge or something, but still, it's all good. It allows for movement at the shoulder, and you know, it looks good, so there we go. And then he does have upper bicep swivel. He has double jointed. Oh, I might have to warm this one up. I think this side's good. There we go. Yeah, he has double jointed elbows. And then at the wrist, he has a swivel and a hinge. And then for the legs, I really wish he did have drop down hips so we could get his legs up a little higher. But, you know, they still go up a pretty decent amount. And I like how this little disc shifts out of the way. That is awesome. So you don't have to risk, like, you're never at risk of like snapping it or something if you're getting them into like kicking poses or whatever. How often does Iron Man do like side kicks? Bam, not often, but he can if he wants to. Nice. And yeah, like I said, it goes forward to like right there. They did a pretty good job with this area here because, you know, we have this armor on the thigh right here, and it doesn't collide with this area, which is nice. It doesn't really get in the way at all. See that? They left just amount of space to make it work. So that was good. And then he does have upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees. Bam, there we go. Nice. And then at the foot, no lower leg swivel or anything, but you could bring his foot forward to right there. Can it go up a little bit more? It looks like, yeah, you could bring it up a pretty good amount. That's probably more than you need to, but it goes up a good amount. Then he does have rocking ankles. So yeah, like I said, I think he has pretty good articulation. And I was really surprised to see that he could actually get into a decent superhero landing pose. They showed on the box art and on the promo images, they showed this Iron Man in a superhero landing pose, and right away I was like, yeah, right, it's not going to be able to do that. You know, it just, I don't see it. And I was partially right, but I will say, I think he gets there enough. But as you could see, you can't, I wish the neck joint was a little different. Like maybe if it had articulation at the lower neck too, that way we could lift his head a little bit. And then I think that would have been it. That would have been perfect. As it is right now, if you really want to achieve the superhero landing pose, you kind of have to pop his head off and just like sit it on the ball joint. And then there you go. And you know, this is not ideal, but still it works. You don't have to modify anything. And you know, it does the job, especially enough for like a picture. And like depending on the angle, it looks like really good. I know this isn't the best superhero landing pose, and I'm sure I'm not doing it 100% correctly. I think the leg comes out a little bit more when he does it. But yeah, oh, look at that. That'll work. See, like that angle looks really good. Yeah, like that's not too bad, man. Yeah, let's... Yeah, so again, if you're decent at posing, you can make it work because, you know, everyone has different like skill sets when it comes to posing, but it's nice when the figure is easy and it's kind of like intuitive, I guess you could say. Like some figures are kind of difficult to pose. So like depending on your level of skill, that's really going to determine how well you could get him into this superhero landing pose. But he could do it. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. Like you don't need to be a super skilled action figure poser to get him into the pose. So yeah, like I think it's a success right here. Not perfect, and you do have to cheat with the head a little bit, but like I'm good. I'm good with this. I think they delivered what the box art and promo art indicated. Even though you do have to cheat the head, I could live with that. But yeah, man, I'm happy with the articulation, but I do want to modify the torso just because I want a little bit more forward movement. But it's going to be one of those things where I'm like, I don't know. I'll get to it whenever I feel like it. It's not like with Captain America. With Captain America, I was like, man, I got to do this right away. With Iron Man, I'm having fun with it. So I think I might be able to live with it just how it is. We'll see. I don't know. But yeah, man, articulation's pretty good on him. Could have been a little better, but I'm really happy with what we have going on. Alrighty, so overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, I think this is a really cool figure. Hasbro did a nice job with it, but I do feel like there are some things they could have done to make this figure even better, especially in regards to the articulation and the accessories that he comes with. For the articulation, I think this figure would have benefited from a ball joint at the waist. It would have added a lot more articulation to the torso, obviously, because as it is right now, all we have is this very limited diaphragm cut. So having that ball joint at the waist would have made this figure a lot more dynamic and more fun to pose around and play with. As it is right now, I'm still having a good time messing with it, but I think that, having that one more point of articulation in there would have definitely added a lot to him. And I also think the design of the armor would have allowed for that point of articulation to be seamlessly put into the figure, because there's a whole bunch of lines and different things in the armor. I feel like they could have put another joint in there and it wouldn't have obstructed the way the figure looks too much. And same thing could be said for the shoulders, I feel like they could have put a butterfly joint in there and it still would have looked as good as it does now. So that's another point of articulation I feel like they left out. But aside from the, those few things that they missed in the articulation department, the figure is a lot of fun to play with. So, I'm not going to complain about it too much, but I do feel like those things would have definitely made the figure better. And then for accessories, he's pretty bare bones, He doesn't have a whole lot. He just has the hands and the energy effects. It would have been nice to get an unmasked Tony Stark head, especially considering how good Hasbro has done with the Tony Stark heads in the past. The last couple that they gave us are amazing. My favorite one is the one that came with the 80th anniversary Iron Man. That's probably my favorite 1/12 scale Tony Stark head sculpt. So I know that Hasbro could have done a really nice, more modern Tony Stark unmasked head. And also, they could have got creative with like different, helmet mask type of configurations for Tony, like maybe something with the faceplate taken off or the faceplate raised up or something. We've seen them do things like that in the past. It would have been nice if they did that for this Iron Man. And then also maybe some like different effects. Like we keep seeing these effects like over and over. We've seen them a bunch of times. It'd be nice to get something new, but they decided not to go that route. So, aside from a couple of shortcomings in the articulation department and the lack of accessories, I think this guy came out nice. The figure itself, I think, is extremely well done. I think they did a great job sculpting it. There's a lot of details, and it's very comic book accurate. And honestly, I think the figure just looks amazing. So I'm happy with that. And then for the articulation, I'm still having a lot of fun playing with it. But, there are some things they could have done, and it would have improved this figure quite a bit. But yeah, man, I've got to say, he's not perfect, but I love it. I think that he came out great. And I'm very happy to finally have an updated version of this armor. This is one of my favorite armors from the comic book, and it's nice to have a good figure that finally reflects how awesome it is, In the comic, he was damn near a villain most of the time that he had this. Not really a villain, but like an antagonist for a lot of the stuff that was going on. But yeah, man, I'm really excited to finally have this armor in a dope figure form, And I really hope that Hasbro continues to kill it with the Iron Man armors, because I think they've done that so far. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. If you're not aware, I go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. and every Friday at 7 p.m. And then Sundays, the time is still being determined, but on Sundays we just talk about comic books. So come through on a Sunday live stream. Keep an eye out on my channel so you know exactly what time I do go on Sundays. But yeah, I look forward to everyone coming through for the lives. I appreciate everyone's support. Thank you very much. Peace.